to Tub Talks with Damon, on location in amazing New Orleans for Southern Decadence. I have a little glitter. I found a little glitter. I don't know if you can tell, but we are here for Southern Decadence, and I am with the great, original Adikus Sulpizi. I'm sorry. Sulpizi.
And don't worry about the glitter. We call it the scabies of New Orleans.
Oh, that's nice. Well, welcome to my tub. When I heard it, I know my scabies are not well. Anyways, you know, I have doxycycline here, so that's going to do a lot to prevent some things, but not the scabies. Sad to say. We can prevent some things.
At the end of this weekend, my pool always looks like a giant snow globe anyway. So
oh my goodness, Adikus, oh my goodness. Well, it is so great to meet you. I'm so glad you took some time out during Decadence to hang out with me. Before we get into your amazing life, I want to ask you, what do you like most about your body?
Probably my legs.
Yeah? What do you like about your legs?
They're very
sexy legs.
Very big, thick legs.
Yeah?
Very muscular. I get a lot of compliments on them. Usually when I'm cutting hair, people are like, God, your calves are huge. Mostly came from years of ice skating, and so they kind of built up over the years. So.
Well, you definitely use your legs.
Every day.
Every day.
They get me around.
Wow. So let's talk about this. So New Orleans is a wonderful town. I know it can be also a very small town when you live here.
It's a village.
So you are known to be what I call a therapist, a resident stylist.
Yes.
You help people.
Well,
what's that like?
I am. So I'm a barber here. I've been a barber. I've been licensed since 1984, so I've been doing the job a really long time.
Wow.
I've always stayed within the job, but I've moved around in other aspects of the job.
What made you want to start cutting hair?
I was a terrible child. So I think after the third time of coming home, getting arrested, my father had enough of me and kind of didn't throw me out of the house, but he's like, I don't know what the fuck to do with this one.
What were you getting arrested for?
Mostly prostitution.
Okay.
But,
And how old were you?
When it first started, very, very young.
And how are you getting caught?
As one does get caught when they're out on the streets at 15 and 16.
So you would walk streets and...
So it was a little bit different. It wasn't the typical, what's the word I'm looking for? I wasn't the typical streetwalker. I really wasn't doing it so much for the money as much as get into clubs, have a place to stay, things like that. So I started it's hard because I really wouldn't say I was a drag queen, but I started dressing in very low drag very early on to get into clubs, to kind of be out in the scene. I was very clear I was a gay boy from way on. It was very clear that I was into very strong men at that time. Of course, things have changed over the years. So, yeah, I mean, I just kind of went down that road of knowing that I could do those things, kind of be out there, be with other men, be in a space I felt comfortable with. I just didn't know half of what I was doing. So, you know, a lot of times I either got arrested for being on the streets kind of late at night, and of course, the first time really was, I guess they were more of an undercover cop. And so I just thought I was going to perform and we were going to, you know, get breakfast or have a place to stay. And I did have a place to stay that night. Not where I was expecting.
What year or what era was this?
This has been very early 80s.
80s, okay.
Very early.
So was HIV and AIDS within your awareness?
So
did that inform your work?
At that point, it hadn't really come out as a conversation, a public conversation.
Were you did you know about it? Were you concerned at all?
So it didn't hit home for HIV until the summer of 85. I'm going to say 85, 86. So being in New Hope, Pennsylvania, I don't know if you know New Hope, all those areas. So that's pretty much where I was hanging out. My family had a farm down there. I was living there. And by the end of that summer, I'm going to say it was really like 86. At least 3/4 of the community was gone. And that was, I remember literally like a Labor Day weekend, there was a second section, if any of you know what Santa Saturday is, but it was usually it was the Saturday before it's Thanksgiving. I want to make sure I'm saying that right. I may be lying. I apologize. You
Okay.
can correct me
That's
later
okay.
on that.
I just want to make sure people can hear you, though.
Okay, so there's this thing called Santa Saturday, and Santa Saturday is this huge leather run, basically. And the years before it would be held either at the Prelude or the Raven, and it was just thousands of people from all over the East Coast, thousands of leather people coming in. And that summer, or that Thanksgiving after that summer, there was maybe 100 people. And you realized right away that it wasn't that they were coming, they just didn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And it was a big eye opener. And I was also, at that point, I was living with somebody in a place called Village 2. Then Village 2, literally, because nobody knew what to do, they actually had closed down. It's not really an apartment complex. It was like one of those early 80s townhouses, apartment thing. And they literally just kind of closed the gates for weeks because it was mostly gay people that were living there.
Wow.
So they didn't know what to do. So they were like, well, if we just contain them or just...
Oh. So,
and everybody would act like, oh, that's horrible. But at the same time, we had a president at the time that literally was acting like, like the last one, it's just going to go away magically. Or that, it's not happening to the people you have to worry about. So people reacted as they should have. I didn't say it was right, but they reacted as they should have. And they reacted based on the idea of what was happening around them. And so that was a normal thing to do, the herd of cows is infected, so you lock up the herd of cows, and
Well, were they like? Are you talking about people that were kind of quarantined or locked?
We were quarantined into. Pretty much we were held at least for a couple of weeks because nobody knew what to do, and then they realized
You were in that group.
Yeah, and they realized that was illegal, and they couldn't do that. But if you're talking about a small village,
how long were you locked up like that?
I can't. It's hard. Like being locked up would be it wasn't really locked
quarantine.
Up. We were also kind of okay with it because we didn't know what was going on. Right? You have to remember, like we were in a very small village, very centrally located part of Pennsylvania, out in the middle of nowhere. Yes, surrounded by big major cities, but we also didn't understand what was going on. So we thought we were doing the right thing by like staying out of other people's way and and then it became very clear like it just wasn't our little group. And then by the time it really started coming out, then you started seeing the major news outlets coming from all across. And of course, the bigger cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, and then when you started seeing that, it's like, oh, okay, this is out there now.
Wow.
Because even in our game, if you remember today, it's hard because you speak about it. I speak about it like we didn't know what the news was, right? Yeah. Even though we had the news was still very local. There was no such thing as the internet where you could touch something and see the rest of the world. It was your local news person telling you about the local things that are going on and what the local sale was at the supermarket. That still was very popular. It was still a very big thing. So we still didn't understand what was happening.
Wow.
And I think a lot of people don't put that together. They don't realize like all of these, it wasn't until we saw that wave come across the country that it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
That was going on.
And also, it wasn't, for a lot of folks, it wasn't clear how it was even transmitted at the time. Like,
oh, no.
I remember people were like, well, do you get it from the sharing a cigarette? From, people thought it could be casually spread because they just really didn't know.
So the hardest of those things was still that even with people that were dying, they didn't know what to do with the bodies. So, because they really just assumed it was this thing living in the bodies, like, it was, the mosquito bite thing that was going on. It was just, there was so much. And like now you listen to it, you're like, huh.
No, but I remember that. I remember that fear.
And, and I remember like I had a favorite bartender who had eventually succumbed to the disease. And I remember everybody going, go see him now because the next chance is when he dies. And no one knew what happened to the body.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it was cremated. I'm assuming it was, but that also speaks a lot to, like I said, there was that whole leather community that was coming for Santa Saturday. It was really that group of guys, at least in that little town, that really came to the rescue. That really kind of, okay, we've got to figure this out. And they were the strongest looking of the group, and not putting down other groups or dismissing other groups, they still were the strongest looking of all the groups. So they were able to make noise, and they were able to get things moving, and they were able to get things back into burying people, letting families see people, getting the hospitals away from this whole idea of just quarantining them in a room. And I wasn't in it, so I don't know, but you'd hear the stories of another just shoving food in the door, and somebody would say, yeah.
In hospitals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear it. Was I there to experience it? No.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be lying but you heard the stories.
Oh, yeah.
So I can only imagine they were true.
Yeah.
But it
again,
was...
this is New Hope area.
Yeah. Well, but again, even through Philadelphia, and I remember even there was, later on, to a woman that I wound up being with much later on. We were together. She used to work at St. Mary's Hospital. She actually worked the gynecologic ward for children's ward. And she started telling me, she's like, yeah, it was... She was nursing at that time. She was much older than I was. And she said, oh yeah, we had an entire area of the hospital just closed off. And they didn't know what to do. And the hardest part, she said, when it was really starting to come into very young people, that's when she said it was really, really difficult. And when I say young, and again, was it transfusions? Could it, was it, sexual acts? You're never going to find the answer to that, right? But that was what everybody was claiming, that, all these young people were being molested, and this is how this was going on. But it just, some of it didn't make sense because, she was saying, we would be asking the kids, and they're like, no. But there was also a lot of kids, at that time. There were huge blood drives still going on. There were huge. So who wasn't, who was not, who was getting infected blood, who was maybe sharing needles, who was, you're never going to get the answer, but the rumors are always going to live.
Right.
And that was always a real problem. For me, coming out of the end of it, you're always fighting against these rumors, just as we fight against rumors now,
right.
of how does this really look, and why is this really happening, and what do people think is going on? You were making the comments earlier, what people thought was happening.
Right.
And the reality is, most of them thought what was happening, because again, I'll go back to that same comment. We were dealing with local news. There wasn't a task force team. Mm-hmm. There wasn't really even a World Health Organization that didn't come out till much later.
Right.
So there was no communication.
And were you still doing sex work during this time?
Well, no. So there's two folds to that story. The woman I was just talking about, I was actually sleeping with her husband.
Mm-hmm.
I was the lifeguard at the pool, sleeping with her husband. I guess we'll put it out there this way, she invited me over for lunch. She made great chicken cutlets. I turned around, she was naked. I had sex with her. She woke up pregnant, and clearly she had been with her husband for quite a long time and was never pregnant by him. So it was very clear that was the story that was going to go on. But that stopped me from really being out there as much anymore. I was staying with her. I was living there. Now, to that conversation, as we progressed in our relationship, I was a go-go dancer at one of the bars. She was a piano player and singer upstairs, and she would sell tickets for men to come play with me in the back rooms of the bars.
Wow.
So we actually made a very good living that way. She was a nurse, and I worked during the day and at night.
So she was selling tickets for men to play with you. What did that mean at the time? Was that oral, penetration?
Oh, it was all. Most 90% of it was oral. Uh-huh. And most of, surprisingly, as a young person, or younger and body-wise, it was a lot of men that really wanted, you would think it would be more me performing for them. And it was a lot of them that wanted to service me. So there's kind of a weird joke in it, because there's a lot of times you kind of had to really fake a lot of things. And I was young enough so I could stay hard. Like now there's a lot of drugs to make all that happen and stuff like that. So the work is, I don't want to say easier, but the work can be a lot more dynamic now.
Dynamic. I like that. So you would sometimes fake coming, or they would...
All of
yeah,
it. I mean, again, it was a job at the end of the day. So you were there to service, to make sure people felt comfortable.
And so was this a girlfriend, a partner? I mean, how was this, what would you say this person...
I mean, she was my wife for all intents and purposes.
How was this negotiated? How was it just like over dinner, like, hey, let's do this
so
thing?
No, she knew, she was very clear that I was gay. I still use the word gay. I don't see a problem with the word gay.
Yeah.
I know that the terms have changed very strongly for a lot of people.
Whatever you like.
I don't see a problem with the word.
Yeah.
Nor do I see a problem with the identity of being gay. I understand being queer, I understand being bi, I understand having all different kinds of pronouns. I understand why these things are very active and even very, I want to use a word that's kind of fulfilling the conversation, because I don't want to just call it, because it does bring everybody to a conclusion of where they feel the most comfortable. But saying it's conclusional is not the right way to put that. But it is a very common place for them to conclude to their lifestyle and their situation. So for me, I was very happy to be gay. And I was very clear of what being gay was. I'm still very happy to be a gay person. More people would identify to me as queer, and the queer world is a little loose for me. I am very standard now who I am. I've had a husband now for 26 years. Okay. We have a very playful, dynamic relationship. It's a very gay relationship. It's all of those things. So I'm very clear and comfortable with that term and comfortable.
Is that, in your mind, what's different between gay and queer?
Well, so queer, non-binary, bisexual, all of these things have really started new identity groups for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people are really desiring a lot of identity right now. They're having a hard time. Sorry. No. This squished up. So, and I think the need for those identities is strong. And I think the want and the purpose of those things is very strong. My hope is that it isn't happening because they feel like they're not being noticed. And if that's the case, then it's only going to be a matter of time before people are going to find a way to not notice you. And then you're going to be left in a very small circle of people. And that's, the smaller you make your circle, the less noise you can make. The less noise you can make, the less things you can achieve, the less activities you can work towards, the less goals you can create and work out. So that's something I'm starting to see, like I said, in my barbershop right now. I hear a lot of people, and I hear them making their groups smaller and smaller and smaller. And at the end of the day, be proud to be in the group you're in, but understand that that group is a huge community, and you want to be part of that community. If you start to lose the level or the legacy in your community, it becomes very hard for you to work the way or create a dynamics or have a look that is actually going to move you forward in your needs, your dynamics, your wants, your goals.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I feel very strong about. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
you have how many children?
I have no children with me right now, so they're all gone. We're not.
Okay. So then.
Not on this.
Okay. No, thank you for your boundaries. Thank you. So
they have their own lives. They don't need to be part of this.
Okay. So then, coming to New Orleans, now being a stylist here, talk to me about that. This community, this group. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. They're just very, very sensitive. You can do anything wrong.
Talk to me about this community.
So, that is such a. It is a ongoing book of information, even for my end right now. So let's face it. I mean, I started this little job here. I started the shop here. It was kind of my get out of jail free card. I had been working in New York for many years. I worked in many studios, a whole lot of, so it was very, every day it was a plane, a train, an automobile, buses. I was working for major retailers, major companies, doing a lot. But at a certain point you get tired, and at a certain age you get really tired. So I needed to kind of get out of jail free card. I didn't think it was going to come here in New Orleans. It was actually my husband who wanted to move here.
Oh.
He was working for one of the colleges here. They had offered him a professorship. So he's like, would you want to live in New Orleans? I'm like, sure. I'd known New Orleans. I had started taking him here 20 years ago. And he just saw love, so we rented a place not far from where we live now for a month, and he stayed here, and then he did a sabbatical here, and we had a lot of fun. I'm like, sure, we can do this. The hard part with it was when he was actually offered the job was just so poor.
Mm-hmm.
So now we live in a relationship where he's in New Jersey during the school year, and I'm here. But as far as creating the shop, it's been very successful. The people, they really like the work we do. They really enjoy the shop. It's a very visceral shop. It's a very kind of come hang out for a few minutes, talk. But we do talk about a lot of things in that shop. It's a very personalized, very community oriented. And when I say community, it's not just the gay, it's the community that we live in. So it's a very, very community oriented.
So this is really like a space, a community space, kind of in a traditional sense. Barbershop is a place where people gather and catch up and...
Yeah, most of my I'd say 30% of my client is queer, gay, or whatever.
Wow.
The rest of it is mostly young straight people starting out families, and young single straight men. A lot of musicians, some bartenders, but all of that. But very community-centered people.
Wow. Can we say the name of the shop?
Two Guys Cutting Hair.
Two Guys Cutting Hair.
Yeah.
Two Guys Cutting Hair. The link will be...
Oh yeah, it doesn't. I'm booked until next week. So.
Yeah, this will be airing all year round.
We're booked constantly.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So when you say you can talk, do people come and talk about healthcare? Do they talk about news?
Oh yeah.
And
So
politics?
you're talking about Team Friendly.
Yeah.
I have buttons still in my bins. When people ask, I give out at least probably still 3-4 buttons a week. I have the stickers on top of my mirror.
The Mr. Friendly?
The Team Friendly.
Wow.
Logos. But we don't, Team Friendly is kind of I don't want to say an afterthought. It's more of a people, they like the idea of being stigma free. But as we're talking about here in New Orleans is a village. So because it's a village, right now I'm working very hard towards the Councilwoman Kelsey, who is like beyond dynamic right now, beyond in control of what she's talking about. And when she first met with me and I was kind of like, okay, what is it your goal is? And she's like, look, we really need to be getting young people into good jobs here that can start affording homes so that we can start creating a more robust community so that the city can survive. And I'm like, okay, if that's the case, then what are the jobs? And then she started listing, like, we have huge apprenticeships here. We have tons of jobs that are available. They're just not being promoted by our current council so there's a lot of young people that come here. They don't wind up in very good jobs. They wind up in very minimal paying jobs, or they wind up working a lot of overtime service industries, so they feel very beaten up, which is another problem with being in the community here because it's very easy to come here. I make the joke all the time. You can get a cheap beer and a blowjob at any bathroom here. So that can become a lot of fun, but you can't live like that.
Right.
And so eventually you have to start living here, and a lot of people get burned out very, very quickly.
Right.
And then that also leads into another big piece of the problem, which is that then people start getting emotionally burned out. And when they get emotionally burned out, they start picking on each other for their emotional burnout. Or they start thinking they have the better idea or the bigger plan or the stronger concept for what's going to make it better. And then again, we go back to that place. Well, you've now taken what is a big community and you've turned it into your little pocket of information. And now you want that pocket of information to be very strong and dynamic. And it just doesn't happen. It just starts coming across as very centrally idealistic to what your current needs are. And then, of course, what does that lead into? Then it leads into, well, this person just looks like they're taking all the accolades, or they're just doing it all for themselves. And that may be very true,
right.
But the reality behind it is, well, they kind of got into that corner because no one else was standing.
Yeah, are you talking about social groups here, or
all of
volunteer groups?
It could be anything. So right now I've been working with a woman. So just very simply, this is a very simple. There's a young woman here. She's very, very talented, very dynamic. I really kind of love her. But she started really a free meal parent room for transgender people here because literally they've been cut out of everything.
Yeah.
Lots of them are afraid to just leave their homes to go get meals, go get food. So she started cooking every Sunday, and cooking hundreds of meals, and and then we're delivering them and the whole bit. And so in the process, trying to find kitchens, trying to find work, and so now another group has jumped in to become the hero. And although they've created certain strides, now they're also taking the dynamics away from what the goal was to just give meals to these people that were afraid to kind of move right now. For obvious reasons, right? We know the reasons that they're afraid to move. We understand what's going on. But now you're putting yourself in the spotlight of look at what we're doing and look at how great we're making this. But the problem is these people don't want to be noticed right now. So
you mean the
people that are being fed,
the people that are being right.
They don't want to be noticed,
right.
And so you're putting them in the notice. So what is the point? Then you're really not doing it for anything other than you can say, look at what I did.
Right.
And that is very easy to do right now.
Right.
And because it's very easy to break off, create your own fabric, get enough, even on the stuff that's happening with people and their followers and their content creators, it's very easy to get people to follow your content and then make that look like it's actually something way more than it is.
Right. Okay, so you see all this. From your view, you see a lot of this in this
all the time.
And this politics and competition. This seems like every city, every organization that I've been in, every hospital, there's so many politics.
So I wish it was politics. It's self-made conversations. It's very easy now to promote yourself.
Right.
And make yourself look as though you are way more dynamic than the situation. And because again, you have, again going back, we have the phone at our fingertips. You can reach out to 5,000 people in a day that may have never even met you.
Yeah.
And make it as though you have created this entire contained universe that is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And
how do you feel about that?
I think I just answered the question. You're making people feel a certain way, which goes back to a lot of that other conversation. We don't protect yourself, then you can't protect what's happening around you, so you have to believe in what everybody else is telling you. And right now we're seeing that, especially in the highest level of our government. We're just believing what everybody's telling us. Nobody's looking into the dynamics. And then when they do the fact check, they think they want to gain of, see that's this, or this is true, or that's not true. You shouldn't even have to be doing that. The idea of governing is to govern, to protect, to make things safer and better for the entirety of the whole. Not for the few chosen you like, not for the situations you want to have happen, not for the ideas that you think are best, but to govern the country. And we've gotten so far away from that as a conversation.
Yeah.
So hopefully that answered that.
Yes, yes, Adikus, yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, so do people ask you questions about Mr. Friendly? Are they like, what's this? What does this mean? What's this about? Do people come to you with questions about sexual health?
Again, this town is really small.
Mm-hmm.
So most people know what Team Friendly is here.
Mm-hmm.
I very seldom do I get new people for the Team Friendly. The thing that we do with Team Friendly here is really, we use it for different levels of kind to break away from stigma. The trans male thing I was just talking about. We use the team-friendly, stigma-free situation to basically say, I don't care whether you like these people or not, whether you're interested in them or not, we just have to find a way to remove the stigma around what you're feeling, because then it becomes the challenge of who's doing what, who's not doing what, But that happens, that's the problem with the stigma now. How many times can we open up somebody's Facebook and they're toning for someone else? My friend is this and that, and we really need to support them and this, that. I'm like, your friend is your friend. You should be just enjoying them as their friend. Because at the same time, that is the goal of the friend. And, you know, I'm the worst person for that conversation because I am typically if you look at it, I'm probably the meanest person you're going to meet in the sense of if you act like broken glass, I'm just going to step over you. I'm not going to ask you why. I just go quiet and I step over you. I can look you straight in the face while you're blah, blah. Don't care, don't want to care, don't need to care.
You mean like people on social media trying to get attention, or you mean in real life when people come to ask you for advice, or
any of it? I mean, if you're going to act like broken glass, and gossip, I'm fine with. Drama, I'm fine with. But the minute you want to act like you are perceiving yourself as something better, or perceiving yourself as you're doing to do something more than everyone else, you're just acting like broken glass.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for me to wander away, especially when all of a sudden all the negative words start coming out in that process. Then there's a problem. You've created a light in a dark space that you're sucking out all of the light to just pinpoint on you, and now you are the broken glass. You are the situation that isn't allowing people to grow or learn or discover new things.
Wow.
Even though you sound like you're doing it, and it's not, I mean, myself, I'm probably very guilty of it in certain spaces. We all are. But there's got to be a level where you have to back down and go, wait a minute. And that's where I think we've gotten to a point where we just want to prove the point so quickly, and we want to take sides. You know, it's like that old saying, you know, oh, my friends got a divorce, or my friends broke up. Well, I'm going to stay friends with this one and not that one. Well, now we've just turned that into a daily lifestyle.
What?
So you have a couple that got a divorce.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to stay friends with the husband,
Yeah.
but not the wife because she was the bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to stay friends with the wife and not the husband because he was such an asshole to her. Well, we use that dynamic in every conversation if you start watching it. We literally work. Well, this one said this, so I'm going to stay with that one. I'm not going to care.
These are you mean in your shop or on Facebook?
Just across the board. I mean, think of all of the conversations that we have on a daily basis. We're taking sides.
Okay. So you see that a lot here, happening here.
It is across the country right now, but I mean, you know, I'm very dynamic in the situation that my husband lives in New Jersey in his house, and I can go there, or we can go out there, and so I see it there. I have friends, you know, still in other cities, but you see that dynamic very clearly now. We've taken sides to commit to what we think is the better answer.
Do you think there's more of that happening in 2025 than there used to be?
It started really, sadly, I want to say it really started with Hillary running. That it became this very dynamic noise of who's right, who's wrong, and we stopped actually listening to the issues. And we stopped listening to what was the goal for the better of everyone. We started actually talking about who was right and who was wrong, and we've not let that up. We really have not stopped that conversation, and now it has bled into, you know. It doesn't. I can think of like 4 odd things, but like, you know, talking about natural foods. You know, well, who does natural foods the right way? Well, who does it the wrong way? And I'm sure there's a goal with every one of them, but the reality is, well, what is your goal for having a natural food? And then what does that actually mean to you, right? I mean, the chicken being killed is the chicken being killed. Whether you like the way the chicken is killed or not, okay, then we can talk. Whether you like the way the chicken is being kept in a cage or not, okay. But just saying, putting it in a room the size of this bathtub and 10 of them and saying, but see, they're free, doesn't really make it a free-range chicken, but it sounds nice to you.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
But at the end of the day, the chicken's still going to die, right?
Yeah.
So, and does the chicken deserve to die? It's not really the point. The question is, the chicken is food. And for all of us, we need that food for fuel, and we need that fuel to continue to go on. So we have to start thinking about the idea of, well, then is it just better that we never let the chicken see the day of light? Because we're just going to use it for food anyway. Why torture it by giving it something it can't have? I mean, I can come up with all of those processes, right? The reality is, that makes me sound like the asshole to a lot of people. I'm sure that's great, that's fine. But at some point, we have to start making decisions. We need the food. And if you think that the food is grown food or beans or just fruit, it's fine. But we all have to come to a realization that is the food, because we need the fuel, we need the energy. You know, again, it goes back, every one of us has needs and should have the right to work. Everybody should have the right and need to work in a space that they feel safe in. Everybody should be getting paid a wage that is workable. Everybody should be living in a situation. But we've now decided what that situation should be for somebody.
And you see more of this now. You feel like there's more of this happening, this conflict, than...
I mean, on a stupid bit, I can tell at least 5 times a day, somebody will say to me, you really need to raise your prices. You're worth more than this. Well, I may be worth more than that to you, but for the bartender that serves or the musician that only got to work 3 times a week right now, this is all they can afford. So you're focused on making it sound like you're doing something really great for me. Right. But if I take that advice, I'm affecting 50 other people negatively.
Right.
What's the point?
Right. Well, also, I mean, are people weighing in on your business choices without being asked?
It's one of my biggest things. I have this fight all the time. I never let my client take control of the business because it's the biggest way for you to lose your business.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you know, the person I work with, we've had that conversation quite a few times. Like, and it sounds like they're doing something good for you, but at the end of the day, the minute that client is taking control of a piece of that business, even the way that it sounds like, chances are it's going to hurt 50 other people.
Right.
So if we're successful where we're successful, then just enjoy the success.
Oh.
Enjoy what we're doing for you. Enjoy that, you know, we've both been at the job a long time. We're both aware. We're both capable. We both know how to do what we do.
Yeah.
So, but we also start need to realizing that for a lot of other people. You know, the bartender that makes your drink the right way, enjoy them for that. Yeah. The bartender that didn't, okay, they're just not doing the way you're used to or what, but that doesn't make them anything different because that may service everybody else just fine. So, you know, but there is a difference when you've got the bartender that literally doesn't want to be there, and the only reason they're there is because of the accolades they get from the other side. Then you're not doing the job. You're not putting your service forward to everyone. What's the point? Right? Yeah. And then find a place where you can actually service the people around you.
Yeah. No, I like your integrity, your work ethic. You seem to be somebody, you know, who cares.
It's all we can do.
You have integrity. You mean what you say what you mean.
It's all we can do. That's what, I mean, you're doing these interviews. I don't think they're for anything more than the audience that's out here and watching the whole thing. The gimmick of the tub is fun and cute. I'm sure it gets people involved and wanting to see what's going on, the whole bit. It's clear that you're creating the content for people to listen to. But what I do like is, and I'll be honest with you, I do these interviews all the time. And what I'm really enjoying right now is you're actually letting me talk. You're not trying to guide the situation, so you actually want to hear what people are saying, and I commend you for that. That's a big, it's a lot. That's something people are having, I think, a hard time right now.
Iris, thank you. I really do, and that's exactly my my goal with this format, sort of a longer format. And to what you were saying, people are not listening and talking enough, in my opinion. People are not connecting enough. I think we can agree without being disagreeable. We can have differences and say why we have differences without having to cancel or criticize or stigmatize somebody. About almost 20 years ago, I wrote a book about the word should. Because whether we're talking about personal relationships or healthcare or political action, no one wants to be told what they should do. And most people, you tell them what they should do, they're going to do the other thing. So I try to help say,
processing this should.
Or see if there's a way. Is there another way to go about it? Like I say, well, you should raise your prices. Be like, fuck you, man. I'd say, Adikus, have you ever considered? Is this something you would ever have thought about? Which clearly you have thought about it. And said, no.
I'm actually, you caught me off guard on something you said. I'm processing it because the should conversation, it's very, it's disengaging, I guess, is what I'm trying to come up with. Because in math, the number should always match the math, right? You can change it anyway, but there clearly can only be one solution. We can speak in multiple languages, so which language should be the right language? Doesn't really. The idea is still to communicate, right? But there is a dynamic way of writing in every language so that the words we're using are stating the things that they should state. So I'm processing what you just said a few minutes ago, where you were kind of, the shoulds are creating the control.
Yeah. Here's an example. If it's neutral, like this duck should fall when I drop it. Oh yay, gravity, it's a thing. So there was no problem. If I say, you should agree with me, you should agree with my opinions, you should use the same language as me, you should think the same way, and if not, you're a terrible person. That's where it's like, all right, so that's where shoulds sometimes intersect with reality in a way that causes tension and conflict and anger.
And there's where I'm losing my... That's not a should. That's a command. So you're commanding me to, I guess, aggravate the information that you just told me that I should be a part of. And I'm processing that because I'm wondering how much of that is actually playing into people think that they're being polite or helping when they're saying, I know better, so you should. I mean, it's a very dynamic child, you should finish your meal before you have dessert. You should eat. You got me thinking about something that I hadn't thought about.
And again, the context where it becomes problematic from my end is often when it gets talked about in therapy, in relationships. When it's problematic in a relationship. Even when it's our own mind. For a lot of men, I should be able to get hard.
Right.
All the time. Whenever I want to. Whenever I'm turned on. I shouldn't have an erect penis. That's a lot of pressure on a lot of men. And sometimes,
odd pressure to put on somebody.
Well, but a lot of men, do this, and
well, that's what I said. Yeah. I mean, you see the medications. Right. I've run into men that are literally injecting themselves to get hard. This idea that performance needs to happen.
Right. So it causes, again, whatever they do or don't do medically. I just know the strain and the anxiety that can cause. And how it can really get in the way of having a really good, fun connection. And
playtime. I'm 100% behind you because that's what that's where it needs to connect to, right? It should just be a connection. And at the end of the day, I probably had some of the best play in the world with just touching. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this on this camera, but I'll say it. In my shop, there's a lot of fun connectivity that happens. One of the biggest jokes is, right after COVID, and it didn't dawn on me because I'm dumb, but right after COVID, I'm going home to David, I'm like, oh my God, David, I must look really hot this week. He's like, wait, I'm telling you, half of the guys were trying to get me to blow them. He's like, no, honey, nobody's been touched in 6 months. They're just lonely. I'm like, fuck you. But the dynamics of that one, people are like, well, how did you know? For me, it's fine. If you feel that comfortable with me to make that, great. If you feel that comfortable to let it happen, great. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. At the end of the day, I have to make the joke and kind of, the next client is out there and we only have plastic doors. So unless you're really quick and quiet, I don't know where this is going to go, right? So, and it has to be something that has to be trusting at all levels, Again, I'm an easy target in that situation. I shouldn't say target, but that's kind of who am I going to tell? Who am I going to create this situation? I can talk about it in these terms. I'm not talking about it, that's what the shop is there for, but there's also that enjoyment of knowing people are that comfortable with you.
Yeah.
So that's a very nice feeling. And so I'm still going back on that should, because I think we should expect that from people.
Well, and again, it's not like I disagree with standards, priorities, values. I would like to live in a world where there's intimacy and touch and connection and play and all the good things.
Yeah. I mean, you're a very touchy person. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing. I caught on to that right away. It's very fine. It's very comfortable.
Yeah. So, I don't have a copy of my book with me, but I could show you or send you a copy. And again, it's just sort of my way of saying this is something that I've seen if people just challenge or consider a different way of maybe going about connecting or fucking or seeing a situation or resolving a problem. even communicating. Sometimes when people change or challenge the should, things feel better. Not always. Sometimes it makes no difference, but sometimes.
I'm listening to that, and I'm wondering if it just goes back to that first part of this conversation where like people feel that they have to be something, or have to have the right opinion, or have to follow. If that's really what's going on, and again, that part's probably not happening in my world too much because I'm very lucky in the sense most of the people around me are pretty strong individuals. So I don't really need to lift them up in any way. I don't really need to. They are already at the pinnacle.
They're not broken glass.
No, and again, when people act like broken glass, so when people act like broken glass, it's very easy for me to step over because I know in my heart that everybody can be a strong person without having to be a bulldozer. And there's a difference, like right now everybody talks about consent is sexy, and I'm like, is it?
What do you think?
Is it sexy? I mean, if you have to walk into the room expecting to have to demand consent because there's already this idea that somebody's going to do something wrong, I think we need to worry about why the fact that we're in a situation where we already are expecting somebody to do something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, then nothing can be sexy.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing, that, are you cruising somebody at that point? Are you going to get in trouble for if you make a romantic gesture or touch, does that now become, you put your hands on me, and I can see how that just becomes this game of who did what I wanted to be done to me. So the other person doesn't exist anymore, so I don't know where the sexy is.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's not like, I don't want to talk about everything, and like we're here at Decadence, there's a lot of fun social play spaces here. And I think I've had a few guests talk about how, no, we're going into a space, we're going into a back room, we're going into an area where, you might get touched.
Right.
And you still can say no, or you can still walk away. But I don't want everyone to be like, can I do it? No, don't talk about it, just do it.
Don't talk. And I think that's where I lose the sexy part for me, because it's your body. And if you are using your body in a way that is if you're using your body in a way that's being playful and dynamic with everyone around you, and you're allowing people to enjoy that without you having to suffer in any way so that you can enjoy it, then it's sexy. If the goal is to start off with, let's see who fucks with me first. Oh yeah, no. If someone goes in with negative energy,
we can feel that. I feel like in Decadence, I don't experience that too regularly. I feel like most people here...
You seem like a very comfortable person in your skin.
Well, I'm very comfortable. But I also feel like other people are mostly here to get along, to play.
So, I think part of this conversation was about Decadence. So, you remember, Decadence started out as a group of people kind of creating a party.
Yeah.
That party then led into a very kind of street party, very like an over-the-top block party. That block party then opened up the doors for many people to be very public in their needs, their costuming, their dynamic look, their out of bounds way, and they get these 3 days to be out of bounds. And now in the last few years, what's really happened is it's become way more of a circuit party. So now we have all the circuit parties. So what was really happening in the streets is now happening behind closed doors again. So the public look of it has really shadowed off. I can't say that's a good or a bad thing, it's just not the same thing. So things need to change, and I understand that. Again, I hope we're not giving up the public life of why this started for the consent of putting it behind closed doors. So that, because then you're taking exactly the point of it's decadent. And, I remember one of the Grand Marshals years ago when they became Grand Marshal, my first thing was, be decadent. It's the word. Don't worry about all of these things that people are doing. Go out and be decadent.
And you were a Grand Marshal.
Yeah. So, and I was very lucky. In my year, the co-Grand Marshal I had, who was a very decadent person in his own rights, in his own way. I'm kind of a much more silly, decadent person. I had so much fun. And what I loved about my year and some of the years before that, a few of the years, each of the groups of Grand Marshals had brought something new to the table. One of the Grand Marshals, which was hysterical, I still think it's one of the funniest things, one of their co-Grand Marshals was colorblind. So they didn't have colors that year. It was polka dots and stripes. They're like, he's colorblind. So, and I thought, perfect, that's something new that has not been done. One of the other Grand Marshals rode a horse down the street, as his conquistadors, and fucking hysterical, and, really brought something very new. Years ago when I was with Smoke from Turney, it was always a walking parade. That's the point of the whistle, because you blow the whistle so everybody would get out of the street so the cars can go. Now that's changed 100 times over, and that's fine. But I remember he was the first one. They literally drove a semi-trailer down in front of the bar and literally opened up the back part of it and turned it into a huge dance floor in the middle of the street. It was brilliant. It was something that had not really been done before. For my year, I created a giant video of tons of people that we took videos of, the whole decadent song was Suck Me, Blow Me, Touch Me, Kiss Me. So we just asked everybody to say one of those phrases, and we put it to a whole video and the music, and Tim Pfluger at the Oz put together the music for me, and Ronnie DeJesus put the video together, and it just became beautiful. So it's something new, something very kind of fun and dynamic. One of the years, and I loved it because she just went completely backwards. It was Take Over the World, and we were sitting in a room, and I'm like, well, let's do Take Over the Underworld. So literally, we, as everybody else was doing all of these big, vibrant things, she came out in this giant red she-devil thing, in the coffin, being drugged out. It was dynamic, it was fun, it was very new, it was a very new look to it, right? And that's always been the fun of these decadent things, is really bringing something new. In the last few years, it's been more about changing the idea of what decadence is. And so back to that, like this year you saw on the streets, not that it was terrible, but clearly it was the parties. Everybody was at the parties, and those are great, and there's a reason for them. But again, if that's what we're doing, well then eventually those parties can be anywhere.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to be here. Yeah. And the one thing we have here is that we have very hot days right now. We can drink in the streets, and we have a very lenient public that is not going to get too mad if you're walking around with your ass hanging out.
Yeah.
So
I love this, and I don't really, like you said, the parties can be anything, anywhere. They're the only thing that I find that I like here is Bathhouse Bend. Mm-hmm. But the rest of them are, they are what they are. I like the part you say. I've been coming here when I can since 2016, and the part that I cherish the most, especially when the weather's good, which this year it really has, is just that hanging out. Being in the street, hanging out, talking, hearing people laugh. Last night or yesterday I was on the balcony of Oz and standing next to this guy who was like throwing beads and people showing him their dicks. That was fun.
Yeah, and
people
and that's not happening somewhere else.
Yeah, that is very unique, and that's to New U.S. This is a unique place to be. I love it.
And so for me, don't let that go away.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't let that go away. I have no control of it. But that's why it's here.
That's why it's here. And it's Labor Day, and unless there's a hurricane, this is usually pretty good stuff.
The year we bought our first home here, we had 10 people come with us, and it was Isaac or whatever, and the electricity was out the whole time. The Phoenix was running on generators. Every neighbor on our block, we just all took out our barbecues and we barbecued. It was probably one of the greatest decadences that I ever remember. My favorite scene is of an old friend of mine from Philly. I haven't seen him in years, but it was probably like 7 a.m. and we're just all sitting out, we had the window, the typical shotgun, so front and back doors open, the breeze is blowing, we're all kind of passed out on the floor. And I'm just sitting on the front step, and here I see him literally coming down the street in his underwear, eating a hamburger that I have no idea where he got, and one shoe. And I'm like, well, you had a really good time. And he just smiled. He's like, I just want to go to bed. And I was really hungry. I think I stole this hamburger from somebody.
Oh, shit. Wow. Oh, look at that. Let me get this. Sorry. But that is, it's the beauty of
It's a very
decadence.
strange thing you're doing there. It's cracking me up. You look like you're putting insertables. Go ahead.
That is the beauty of decadence. Poetry, messy boys with hamburgers.
I just let he got a whisper.
Yeah,
I'm not even sure everybody heard.
Yeah.
He's like, I think I stole this hamburger from somebody. And I just cracked up.
Oh my gosh.
He's just sitting there eating it. It was, but
Wow.
I'll never forget it. And that's, and here it was. There was no electricity in the whole city. There was no, people were living on generators. I think by the middle of the weekend, maybe the corner of Bitch and Please had gotten electricity, or Oz and Pub.
Uh-huh. What's it called? Bitch and Please.
I call the corner of Bitch and Please. It's okay. Had gotten electricity back, and I think he was out dancing that home. But that's the point of it, right?
Yeah.
That is, and that's why it's here. And so that is what decadent is. You get the chance to be decadent. Yeah. You get, if you want to walk around in whatever attire, whatever thing makes you feel the sexiest, the funnest, the silliest, the most prettiest, the most made up, you get to do it here. And that is the point of this.
The point. Love that. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with me
Absolutely.
and tell me your thoughts. And this is great. I love these conversations. If people want to see you, I'm going to have the link to your shop down below. Mm-hmm. Do you do any other kind of social media? Do you want people to follow you at all?
I don't. But if you really want to put that out there, because I think I'm not posting on the video, but that video that I did, I think I'll find a link for you if you can find it. It's online. But I would, for people, watch that video, because that's literally what the idea of decadence is, and it's not just queer, it's not just gay, it's everyone just being who you want to be that weekend, and you get to do that.
Yeah, it's silly, and sometimes I need some silliness.
Yeah, we all
and I
need
look forward
that.
to this every year.
We all need that. So.
Thank you so much
You're
for
very
taking
welcome.
time to do this with me.
Of course, you're very welcome.
If you like this episode, subscribe. This is now, there's about 200 episodes. And this is the 5th season. And just people talking about their lives, their stories, their passions, their interests. And this is how I love learning about people and hearing about people think. I think people would be a lot less inclined to fight and to do that tension thing if they just got naked and sat in a bathtub and had a conversation.
I hope so. As I said earlier, even when I was talking about this line, I'm very flattered when somebody makes that. There goes the dog. Because we should all be flattered by the fact that somebody actually took the time to notice you in that way. Doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean you have to want it or accept it. Yeah. But at least take the time to be flattered.
Yeah. Thank you for watching, everybody. Enjoy.
Be great, guys.